Hello and welcome to News Now on TV360. I'm Thelma Okoro. At least 76 people were killed in Tuesday's accidental Nigerian Air Force strike on a refugee camp in northeast Nigeria. This is according to the International Red Cross and Red Crescent Movement ICRC. The incident occurred at Ran community in Calabauje local government area of the region. The Air Force says an unknown number of civilians were killed and wounded in the mistaken airstrike. Medical charity Medicine Sans Frontières says about 120 others were injured in the incident. Among the dead were 8 workers with the Nigerian Red Cross and MSF. Regional Military Commander General Lucky Irabo says it was too early to determine the cause of the error. The International Red Cross says it will continue delivering aid in northeast Nigeria after about 6 of its workers were among those killed in the accidental airstrike in a settlement camp in the region. Ran, the affected area, is one of the zones that became recently accessible to humanitarian organizations. The Nigerian government has described the incident as a regrettable operational mistake. Also, the United Nations says it has mobilized an emergency response team for the affected region. Its humanitarian air service dispatched a helicopter with 4 medical personnel, 400 kilograms of emergency medical supplies, and airlifted 8 Nigerian Red Cross workers injured in the airstrike. Meanwhile, Lai Mohammed, Minister of Information and Culture, says the accidental bombing is not a true reflection of the level of professionalism in the Nigerian Air Force. In a statement issued, the minister described the incident as utterly tragic. He urged the Nigerian Air Force to continue to take necessary measures to avoid civilian casualties. 3 people have been confirmed dead after unknown gunmen attacked a creation joint in southern Kaduna State. This comes hours after the state government announced a 24-hour curfew in the local government based on security reports. The attacks had been confirmed by Kaduna Police spokesperson Aliyu Usman, though he did not confirm the exact casualty figure. Hundreds of people have been killed in southern Kaduna by suspected Fulani herdsmen. The Christian Association of Nigeria has placed the death toll at 808 people killed in the violence. A militant group has blown up a crude oil trunk line in Ughelli, Delta State, Nigeria's southern region. Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo paid a visit to the region just 24 hours ago to urge the people to embrace peace talks with the government. Now, no militant group has claimed responsibility for that attack, but youths in the Niger Delta region have sworn to continue attacks on pipelines until their demands are heard by the Nigerian government. Nigeria Senate failed to stop the planned closure of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja for repair works on its runway. The federal government had announced that the only airport in the country's capital would be closed from March 8 for 6 weeks. According to the plan of the aviation authorities, flights will be diverted to the Kaduna Airport and passengers from or to Abuja will be required to travel by rail or road for the period of the closure. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is set to register more political parties ahead of 2019 general elections. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, confirmed this to the press. He says the Commission is doing everything possible to ensure that the 2019 elections are more credible than previous elections.
After the conduct of some elections, most of which ended in heavy knocks for the electoral umpire, it is time for the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to re-strategize ahead of 2019. This is the purpose of this gathering. The strategic workshop is in conjunction with the International Foundation for Electoral System, and the idea is to reappraise the activities of INEC and reposition the Commission for the challenges ahead. The Commission says it is ready to register more political parties in accordance with the law once all requirements are fulfilled.
The Constitution and the laws of this country provide for registration of associations into political parties once they meet the requirements for registration. So if there are political associations that have met the requirements for registration, we'll register them as political parties. And so far we have received over 60 applications for registration of new associations into political parties. So we'll continue to be governed and guided by the provisions of the Constitution and the Electoral Act.
The Commission says it is also reviewing the Electoral Act to address recent political happenings and ensure that strict electoral punishment is served on electoral offenders.
We have been assured, particularly by the Senate Committee on INEC, that the issue of electoral offences tribunal and commission will be taken up as a major legal reform issue. Whatever we are able to harvest for constitutional and legal reforms we have made available to the two committees on electoral matters in the House of Representatives and on INEC in the Senate, and this the National Assembly, as we very well know, that will now work towards the amendment of the law, and they have gone very far in the Senate, and I'm also aware that they have gone very far in the House of Representatives.
This culture of brigandage, banditry, and total culture of impunity is unacceptable, is not civil, and therefore cannot be part of Nigeria's political lexicon come 2019. There must be a way to engage this, and there must be a way to deal with it very, very, very frontally. And I think, for example, that is why we have the issue of electoral offences becoming very, very, very important. Send people to jail. Make example of both those who are sent in the field and their patrons. If you do not send people to jail, Nigerians will not sit up.
TV360, Lagos.
A Lagos High Court has fixed January 26 for the sentencing of 2 persons convicted on charges bordering on fuel subsidy fraud. The individuals Adolha Ugonnadi and Walter Wagbasoma were charged alongside their company, Ontario Oil and Gas. The sentencing was initially fixed for January 18th, but the judge, Justice Latifat Okunu, adjourned it owing to the medical condition of one of the convicts. The minimum sentence for the crime is 7 years, while the maximum is 20 years. 4 days after his promotion to the rank of Commissioner of Police, Garuba Umar has been appointed as the Lagos State Commissioner of Police. He replaces Fatai Owosheni, who has been posted to the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, in Jos. Umar once served as Divisional Police Officer in Ikoyi and as Mobile Police Unit 19th Commander in Port Harcourt. The Lagos State government says it will ride on the commercial value of the entertainment and arts industry to increase the GDP of the state as well as create employment opportunities. Governor Akinwumi Ambode said this at the Lagos House in Ikeja while hosting Nigerian artists who performed at the One Lagos Fiesta.
Sets of people that can actually run the future of a global economy are those who are creative and are innovative. So the project this was as in, can we use tourism, hospitality, entertainment and arts, and then maybe sports to promote excellence and promote the GDP of Lagos. So I felt in my heart that if I ever get the chance, I will use entertainment and arts to prove a point that these are core creative people who are professionals in their own rights and they are never to be tossed around. So that was my mission around it. And because I believed in it, I also tried to do, you know what, I don't want to buy stocks and I also don't want to be selling car. Okay, let me go and promote some artist. If I make money, I think that's good money. So obviously, you know, in this kind of afternoon session, when I try to, you know, position the way artists act, you know, maybe acting is entertainment, and the way they are calm this afternoon, I'm like, okay, so so they also are just like any one of us, but the creative talent in them makes them to want to make us laugh by. And the truth is this: we have a bulging youth population dynamics in Lagos State. 66% of those living in Lagos are below the age of 35. So if 2/3 are below the age of 35, it means there is an economy in that age bracket that government is not seeing.
What is wrong with you? Man saying no. Said I drove for more than 1 hour.
Yami, ọ̀rọ̀ yín náà ni mò ń ṣe. Ọ̀rọ̀ yín náà ni mò ń ṣe. Ká kúrò fún Ọlọ́run. ká satisfy yín níbi ọ̀rọ̀ yín náà ni mo ń ṣe.
Ẹ wo jẹ́ ká lọ jàre. Ẹ ká kúrò níbí báyìí.
Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ má bínú. Hello ọ̀gá, màá dọ́dọ̀ yín lẹ́sẹ̀ yín. I am assure you 5 minutes màá dọ́dọ̀ yín ẹ gbà bẹ́ẹ̀.
You are deceiving another customer just like you deceived us.
The same way he deceived us.
Eh? Why?
Ètò ní iṣẹ́ yìí. Bó o bá kúrò ò lè jẹun, ò lè jẹun. Bó o bá kúrò ò lè jẹun ìyá mi. Bó o bá kúrò ò lè jẹun. Workshop mi lélẹ́yìí. Ibi tí èèyàn bá ti ń ṣe ló ti ń jẹ. Ìyẹn ló ń pè ní workshop. Ibi tó bá ti ń work ni kó má ti shop.
You cannot base your business on lies. Koda now, it is corruption and it cannot work. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. The Nigerian government says it is in talks with the Central Bank of Nigeria to close the gap between foreign exchange rates at the official and parallel markets. The Naira's official rate is currently at 305 to the dollar since it was devalued in June last year. But that is still 40% stronger than rates on the parallel market. The Naira is trading at 497 to the dollar on the parallel market, and this figure is discouraging investment from overseas and leaving Nigeria starved of foreign currency. Financial institutions, among others, have argued that Nigeria must allow its currency to float freely to solve its foreign exchange woes, a measure which has met opposition from President Muhammadu Buhari. The Central Bank of Nigeria has banned banks from all transactions in Bitcoin and other virtual currencies. A circular circulated by the Apex Bank's Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department, Kelvin Amugo, stated that the move was required by money laundering and terrorism financing risk-linked in operations of virtual currencies. The CBN therefore advised banks to ensure that they do not use, hold or transact in virtual currencies. The Apex Bank also warned the banks to ensure that existing customers that are virtual currency exchanges have effective AML and CFT controls that enable them to comply with customer identification, verification and transaction monitoring requirements. Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves have increased to $27.223 billion as at January 16, 2017. This is according to latest figures issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The growth in the reserves derived majorly from the proceeds of crude oil sales, represented an increase by $1.380 billion or 5.3% in the last 17 days, compared with $25.843 billion that it was at December 30th, 2015. Oil prices fell on Wednesday on expectations that U.S. producers would boost oil output. OPEC signaled that a global supply reduction deal will shrink the oil glut in 2017. Brent crude futures were down 75 cents at $54.72 per barrel, while U.S. crude oil futures were trading down 81 cents at $51.67 per barrel. U.S. shale production is set to snap a 3-month decline in February. This is according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, as energy firms boost drilling activity, with crude oil prices hovering near 18-month highs. At least 33 people were killed and dozens injured on Wednesday when a suicide bomber detonated a vehicle packed with explosives near a military camp in Mali's northern city of Gao. The army put the provisional toll at 25, but a source in the United Nations Peacekeeping Force says at least 33 people were killed in the incident. The camp was home to government soldiers and members of various rival armed groups who jointly patrol Mali's restive desert north in line with a UN-brokered peace accord. Gambia's National Assembly has passed a resolution to allow President Yahya Jammeh to stay in office for 3 months. Jammeh, who lost the election in December last year, was due to leave power on January 18, 2017. Now, this decision will raise tensions with leaders of the West African bloc, which is the ECOWAS. The body has threatened sanctions or military force to make Jammeh hand over to opposition leader Adama Barrow, who won that election. Barrow is currently in Senegal, where he is seeking asylum. He could, in theory, be sworn in as president at the Gambian embassy in Senegal, which is technically on Gambian soil. Nigerian club Ifeanyi have accepted the sanctions received following its refusal to complete its weekend game against Kano Pillars. The league governing body had deducted 3 points from the Eastern-based team and also ordered the team to forfeit 3 goals. Ifeanyi FC were also given a suspended 8-point deduction. The LMC also said the Anambra Warriors will pay a fine of 9.50 million naira for offences bordering on hindering television broadcast, causing delay to restart the match after halftime, refusing to continue the match, and for acts capable of bringing the league to disrepute. Former Manchester United manager Louis van Gaal says he has not retired but is instead taking a sabbatical until the summer. The 65-year-old has been out of work since leaving Old Trafford in May. On Monday, Dutch newspaper The Telegraph said Van Gaal had ended his coaching career with the sudden death of his son-in-law influencing his decision. But he told Spanish radio station Cadena Ser that although retirement was a possibility, it is not definitive. Former Egyptian footballer Mohamed Abu Trika has been added to the country's terror list for his alleged links with the banned Muslim Brotherhood. Abu Trika is accused of financially supporting the Brotherhood, which Egypt considers a terrorist organization. His lawyer Mohamed Osman said the move was contrary to the law, adding that his client had not been convicted or formally notified of any charges leveled against him. Well, that's all we have at this hour. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Thelma Okoro.